Hello and welcome to another PAC Check-in. I'm here with Randy Beehler, the Communications and Public Affairs Director for the City of Yakima. Thank you for joining me again, Randy.
Thanks, Sean.
Now, we've done several of these. I didn't expect to do quite so many of these remotely. We have moved into an extension by the Yakima City Council of the emergency declaration. Can you talk a little bit about that and explain where we're at and what the next phases are?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess partly where I'll start from is what the emergency declaration is not. The emergency declaration by the city does not have to do with a stay-at-home order or any of that other, any of those other elements of action taken at state level by the governor. The emergency declaration allows the city to do two things that are important during times of emergency. One, it allows the city to possibly, and I want to emphasize that, possibly be eligible for reimbursements for additional emergency costs related to this emergency, COVID-19, meaning purchase of personal protective equipment, extra clean supplies, staff that was brought in to do cleaning. Those kinds of things might be eligible for reimbursement. So the first thing that the emergency declaration does is allows the city to potentially be eligible for reimbursement from the state and from the federal government for those extra emergencies. There's no guarantee that any money will be available for reimbursement of those costs, but it's important that the city take that step in order to be eligible, the step extending emergency declaration. The second thing that the emergency declaration does is it allows the city to not have to follow some normal purchasing, or procurement is the kind of the formal term that we use during this time for purchases related to the emergency. So again, trying to buy masks, additional cleaning supplies. Generally speaking, local government has to go through a rather lengthy, and some might even say cumbersome, process to purchase those kinds of materials. Oftentimes we have to get bids, we have to get a number of bids and then process through all that. This emergency declaration allows us to bypass those steps and just purchase those emergency materials immediately. So hopefully that provides a little bit of clarification about what the emergency declaration extension is and certainly is not.
Now let's talk a little bit more about, let's talk about masks. And the city council did add wearing face masks as part of the declaration, correct? Can you talk about that part of it? Or yes, please explain.
So just point of clarification, the recommendation, the encouragement to wear masks is not part of the emergency declaration. That is another proclamation that the council passed at its most recent meeting.
Oh, wonderful.
That proclamation is encouraging people to wear masks when they're in public places. Even wearing masks here at City Hall, when I leave my office, I put a mask on when I'm walking in the hallways. Obviously, if we go into stores or other public places, even the health district's directive even includes if you're outside and you can't possibly maintain, I mean, it's unlikely that you will maintain 6 feet of space, then it's appropriate to wear a mask. One of the things that I think hopefully would resonate a bit with folks here in Yakima, because we continue to have a very, very high COVID-19 infection rate. And that is preventing the county from moving forward through the phases of the startup plan that the governor announced here a few days ago. Nice mask. But by wearing masks, that it certainly heightens the potential that our infection rate can drop and the county can begin moving through the remaining phases. We remain in phase 1 right now, which is curtailing business considerably. So by wearing a mask, literally you are helping to have businesses reopen. Furthermore, the mask, and I think it's important for people to at least consider this, the wearing of the mask isn't really to protect you. The mask is to potentially protect others. And if we bear that in mind, maybe it doesn't become quite as cumbersome to people who don't want to wear the mask. It could be for a short period of time, but by masking up, you help the county open up.
And it takes seconds. Seconds. Every time I go in anywhere, I'm ready to go. And it's
And
that
it does,
simple.
you know, we're a few days, right? We're a few short days into this requirement, this directive from the health district. And you and I talked about it before we went on the air here. It is encouraging. There does appear to be more people. There do appear to be more people who are wearing masks just in the last few days. And again, it's for the benefit of others, but also it's potentially for the benefit of us moving through phases more quickly and getting the economy back open and running.
And I also want to say it's not just wearing masks, it's washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, just generally keeping a little bit cleaner, keeping contacts cleaner. That every little bit helps. Anything, when this all started, there was a list of things you could do. Washing your hands was one of the main directives, and that still applies. The masks are a barrier, but soap and warm water kill the virus immediately. So I encourage that, and I know others do too. So, and the health district is encouraging that as well. So,
yeah, and again, really, what we're talking about here is short term. You know, maybe even if you want to call it a sacrifice, a short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. The longer that the county remains at the infection levels that it is at right now, the longer it will be before we can move through additional phases and get our economy opened up.
Now, I don't want to. Will there be enforcement? It's just a recommendation, right? Ultimately, it's please wear a mask to help open businesses, like you said.
It is a directive, and now we're starting to kind of, I guess, mince words a little bit, but there is meaning to words. It is a directive from the health district, not an order. An order could potentially carry with it some penalty. That is not what this is. It's a directive, which is a strong suggestion. Maybe that's another way to describe it. But if you mask up, we can open up.
Right, and the sooner that we can get those infection rates down, the sooner everybody can get back to work and we can get back to some semblance of normal at least, and maybe I can get a haircut, maybe. So let's move on from that. Some other things that were discussed at the council meeting were cruising. So I am actually sitting in front of a photo of Yakima Avenue, where people cruise. I cruised many times as a teenager. Can you talk about what the council discussed at their last meeting and clarify just what direction they're going?
Well, after a great deal of discussion, what was actually on the agenda was discussion about potentially abolishing or rescinding the cruising control. That's what it's called, cruise control ordinance. After much discussion, the council modified that approach a tad, and rather than the current ordinance, the cruise control ordinance that allows for cruising on the second and third Saturdays of June, July, August, and September, what the council proposed last night, at the last meeting, was that the cruising would be allowed on all Saturdays of June, July, August, and September. Now what has to happen, it's process, it's state law. Now what has to happen is a revised ordinance needs to be brought back to the council. That's scheduled to occur at the council's next regular meeting. The council then, will consider that ordinance, and if the council adopts it, then the ordinance, again, state law, would take effect 30 days later.
Wonderful. So like I say, that's, for me, hopefully it won't affect COVID-19 anymore. Hopefully we'll be on to phase 2 or 3. We'll see where we're at in 30 days from now.
So just remember, though, again, the ordinance, and this is important, I think people should understand it, and it bears reiterating. The ordinance would not be changed for 30 days after it is adopted. So in the second meeting of June, the council, let's say the council adopts that ordinance, it wouldn't take effect until the middle of July.
Okay, so we've got some time before it would actually go into effect.
Correct.
Okay. Now let's talk about another resolution that was passed recently at that same meeting, and it's opening up a little bit. It's what the City Council is trying to do to help small businesses and restaurants, right? Using some sidewalk space for seating to allow restaurants to accommodate customers. Can you explain that to us?
Right. Right now, as the Yakima Municipal Code, that's our set of laws in Yakima. Right now, there is not a way to utilize parking lot space for outdoor restaurant seating. There is the ability to utilize sidewalk space, but there's a process to go through, a fee to be paid, etc. What the council agreed to is to temporarily suspend those regulations and allow restaurants to operate, but to place seating on sidewalks and in adjacent parking lots. Still need to go through a process to secure insurance and make sure that they are protected against liability for the use of those spaces. ADA requirements, American with Disabilities Act requirements, still have to meet those, but it does allow restaurants to have another option rather than indoor dining room seating, which right now, as you mentioned, Yakima County remains in phase 1. That is not allowed at any capacity level. Even when we move through the next few phases, that capacity level in restaurants only increases incrementally, 15%, to then 25%, to then 50%. So the limitation of the ability for folks to use their dining rooms is pretty significant right now. It's a hurdle for restaurants to overcome. So this action taken by the council allows the use of those spaces, sidewalks and parking lots, temporarily to increase seating capacity.
And that's a step in the right direction to help get businesses back up and moving a little bit.
Yes, that's clearly the intent. Yes.
Yes. Now, one of the bummers, summer is starting, and with this being in phase 1, it may affect swimming. It may affect other parks programs. Can you talk a little bit about where the city is, maybe some thoughts that are going around and some ideas, or even some alternate solutions maybe that might be out there?
Well, unfortunately, when it comes to alternate solutions, particularly for swimming or for recreational activities that kids commonly take part in during the summertime, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of alternatives to groups being close to one another, which, first of all, is not great given our COVID-19 emergency, but it's not really an option for us right now because Yakima County remains in phase 1. So unfortunately, the summer swimming season at Franklin Pool has been canceled. That will not go forward this year. Part of the rationale is the city couldn't even open up Franklin Pool even at reduced capacity until the county is in phase 2. By the time we got to phase 2, now you need to ramp up staffing, lifeguards and cashiers and so forth. And a lot of those employees that we rely on to fill those positions during the summertime on a temporary basis are younger people, high school students and college students. By now, it's the 1st of June, part of June. By now, a lot of them have sought and gotten other jobs. So the decision has been made to not open Franklin Pool this year. It will also reduce costs for the city. There are startup costs just to put the water in the pool and get the chemicals correctly balanced. So we'll save those costs, which is good because the city is experiencing some downturn in revenue. And other recreation programs too this summer have also been canceled. So we won't be doing the kinds of things that we have typically and historically done during the summertime. That's difficult, but it is the result of this ongoing emergency.
Yeah, and summer will go on. People will find other activities. That is my outlook. I'm kind of a glass half full, so we will find things to do. We found things to do for the last few months. It's been a challenge at times, but we'll get through it together. So one more thing I do want to talk about, end of school coming up. I know that YCTV is going to be airing at least a few graduation ceremonies, and I just want to let people know that there will be more information coming out about that, and YCTV is planning on airing, as far as I know, the Eisenhower graduation and the Davis graduation, and possibly some other Valley graduations to share with our community. These programs have been created for the community, and we would like to share them with the community. So there will be some information below, and people can contact YCTV for that information. And speaking of information, I do want to talk about all the information that is out there and where people can find some accurate information. And can you talk about that and the city information and some of the other outlets for COVID-19 information and where people can get that?
Well, as we've mentioned, almost every time we've done a check-in, on the City of Yakima's website, which is yakimawa.gov, right at the very top of that page, you'll see what we call the banner. Got a picture right now of a mountain there. And if you click on the link that says click for COVID-19 information, that takes you to this page, which shows, first of all, as you can see right on the top there, what phase 1 is, where we are at currently. Then a little bit below that, it shows what the city has been doing internally and externally for customers as well during the COVID-19 emergency, in particular with phase 1. This page, as we move through the phases, you will start to see on this page where the City of Yakima is with regard to the phases and what we're doing to comply with those phases. For example, we are not allowed, under the current orders from the governor, to open public facilities, City Hall, the Law and Justice Center, etc., until we're in phase 3. So we have a ways to go there before folks are going to be allowed to come back into public buildings, and that information will be contained on this page. Also, on the same page, you can scroll down a little bit further and you'll see links to the health district, Yakima Health District, to the governor's office and different orders that have been issued by the governor's office. There's a link as well to the community, CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and there's also a link there as well to, at the very, if we look through, there you go, also to the Washington State Department of Health, which is the state agency that's responsible for responding to public health emergencies. There's a lot of information there, and there's a lot of information out there about COVID, and a lot of maybe sometimes confusing information. For example, we at the city had been responding to some community members this week about how the counting of cases is working with the health district. And some people had maintained that the health district counts in a household of 5 people. One person gets infected, all 5 are counted as positive. That is not the case. That is absolutely not the case. Only the person who has been tested positive in the household is considered positive. The other members are considered close contacts, and it's encouraged for them to be tested. Only if they get a test back that is positive are they counted in the overall numbers for the county. If they get a test back negative, obviously they are not counted, and if they choose not to get a test, they are not counted. So there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of challenge to wade through that information, but a lot of the links that we provide will get you to solid and reliable information.
And information, like you say, it's everywhere. Getting accurate and credible information from organizations like the CDC and the Yakima Health District. That's the information that you want and can hang your hat on, so to say. So, or hang your mask on. And please, again, everybody, wear your masks, wash your hands, stay safe. Is there anything else we need to discuss, Randy? It's been a pleasure as always. So.
No, I will leave you with one last thought. Mask up so we can open up.
Yes, mask up so we can open up. I'm going to mask up, and we'll leave it at that. And I want to thank you very much for joining me today, and thank you all for watching.
Thanks, Sean.